Hello and welcome to late office hours, still earlier than my original start time, with your host, Sticks Intern. I am your host, Sticks Intern, and this is my bike, everybody. Welcome to Bike Hours. Welcome, everybody. Welcome one and all, and you to my show. It's good to have you all here. I'm happy you're all joining me. Thank you for your patience. Your patience will be rewarded with many freaking tier lists. What am I talking about? I'm talking about these tier lists. Huge shout out to Mega. Huge shout out to the Jewelers for putting this template together for us to use. And tonight I am going to be talking about tier lists. But before I do that, before I start doing, the whole tier list spiel, I want you guys to tell me whether or not you can hear me while I play a song to get myself centered.
Is coming, the war song is drumming, the game is now becoming. Oh, the enemy is cunning, each player's mind is running, their precision strikes are stunning. Oh, I just wanna fight, bring your warriors or knights. My attacks give the sea the light, cause my arrows fill the skies. My arrows fill the skies, my arrows fill the skies, my arrows fill the skies, and they bring your demise.
All right, that's enough of that. Let's get into it. All right, tier list, baby. What are we talking about when we say tier list? We're talking about ranks of abilities and shit that people use in determining, they use to determine what is good and what they should potentially do. So, I've seen a couple people go ahead and make these tier lists, right? It's a great website, good website. Website is huge. You see here, we got the original tier list made by the Jewelers themselves with Mega. Yo, it was about to drop, says J-Dub. Yes, that's called Dropus Interruptus. And I did it on purpose because I was impatient. And I thought that would be the best time to impose my impatience on all of you. No, but the real reason was I just wanted to dive into this. I got a lot of content to talk about, frankly. So huge shout out to Mega for putting this tier lists together. The one I got on screen here is the passive ability tier list that Mega made. And I think it's a great tier list, good, solid, does its job, but I think it suffers, and the tier list that Bogside made but didn't save. You can save things on this website, ladies and gentlemen, so that other people can see them forever and ever. The main problem that Mega and Bogside had is that they are just kind of ranking these traits for all heroes, and I really think that is not as useful, right? That's good. It's good. It's a good starting point, but it's not as useful. Huge shout out to 2 Noobs and Donate 3 Live. Really want to shout out Donate 3 Live right now. The airdrop farming is going on. If you donate to me, you get yourself some Don 3 points, DON3. And I've been partaking in other people's chats, sending them stuff, and it's a lot of points. It is based on the value of the tokens you send, but don't let that make you send more, right? But if you want to have some fun, do it. Thank you, 2 Noobs, for that donation. But the way I am thinking about these tier lists is a little bit different. I've put one together ahead of time, which is saved here. You can see my little Mick PFP there. I think it's way better to rank them per class. So, ranking them per class, I think, provides a lot better information for us to use in deciding what to use. And so just for an example, I put this one ahead of time. It is the Archer Passives tier list. Now I'm going to use this example to explain how I am ranking things. All right. S tier. What does that mean? Does it mean it's the best? Yes, it does mean it's the best. But what am I actually using to decide what gets into S tier? I am using the following criteria. So if you are in S tier, that means that I believe the trait is good on the hero with any build for the hero, any of the three like kind of build paths you could do or any combination thereof. That is S tier. Any build and any composition. Like, so any set of two other heroes you want to put with it, S tier is one thing that you can use with any build and any set of heroes on your team. A tier, that means it's good with most builds and most compositions, excuse me. B tier means good with some builds and some compositions. C tier, good with maybe a few builds, highly situational, but you're generally going to want the other things. And then D tier is, in my opinion, not good with any build or any situation. And now I'm going to go explain how I applied that in reaching this tier list right here for the Archer passive. So Giant Slayer, right? Your Archer generally has less health than at least some members of your opposing team. So they're going to have lower health because they're a damage dealer. They have lower health rolls. They have lower chances for a high roll. And they will always have lower health. I think Giant Slayer, no matter what, is going to be good on an Archer. It's good with all three of the builds, whether you're channeling, whether you're doing the right side build with the Pierce or the left side build with the multiple shots. Really good. Really good. It's always want more damage on your damage dealers. So Giant Slayer gets an S tier. Toxic. Also good with any build on an Archer. Although a bit more situational than Giant Slayer. I don't really like doing inter-tier rankings. I just kind of like, they're just in there. I don't rank them within the tier. It's just when they make it to a tier, that's great. They're S tier or A tier or whatever. Toxic. Really, really good with one Archer build, but all of the Archer builds actually have multiple attacks, or all of the Archer builds have attacks that hit multiple targets or strike multiple times. And so because of that, I've ranked Toxic S tier, because no matter what Archer build you have, no matter what composition you put it with, I think Toxic will get you value on an Archer. Intimidation, this one might surprise people. I think Intimidation is really good on an Archer, no matter what. You're reducing your enemy's damage by 5%. As a squishy damage dealer, that's really good. If you can get two of them, 10%, that's really good. All right? Foresight. That improves your evasion. All right? I wanted to rank this higher. I wanted to put it S tier, but I felt that if you are in a situation where your composition is placing your Archer in some risk, where your Archer is getting targeted, that's really not as ideal, right? And Foresight's kind of a defensive ability, whereas I prefer things that maximize your offense, Intimidation being kind of the exception. Thank you, Sir Worm, but do they slap? I will get to that. So Foresight, A tier, good in most builds, most situations, but there could be better options like Giant Slayer, Toxic, or Intimidation. Why do I like Intimidation better than Foresight? Because it's just a raw minus 5%. Yes, two noobs. Intimidation does stack up to 3 times. So if you have 2 heroes, or all 3 of your heroes have 1 Intimidation, your enemy team is getting minus 15%. But I like Foresight. I liked Intimidation better than Foresight just because it was constant and it was guaranteed. Foresight is like a slight bump to your evasion, so it could trigger, but it might not. That said, it's still really, really strong, plus 3% evasion, really, really good. I had a page where I had referenced the passives. There we go. So I can look at this while I am going. Moving some stuff around on my screen. Don't mind me. Clear Vision increases resistance to blind by 35%. I've put this up at A tier. No matter what, your Archer is going to be doing damage. It is good with pretty much every build. It just isn't as good because it's not advancing your Archer's damage. It's just preventing an incoming thing. So for that reason, I've ranked Clear Vision A tier. Efficient, I've ranked A tier because I run out of mana on some of my Archers. But that said, there are some archers where I really don't need that extra 5% mana. So it didn't deserve the S tier in my opinion. Now moving down to B tier. Remember, what does B tier mean in my nomenclature? That means, good in most situations, maybe some situations, most compositions, but more situational than the A tier. So headstrong, right? Increases your resistance to daze by 35%. Is that good in every situation? Well, what if your other team is triple archer, right? They've got one ability that can daze if it crits. Already a pretty low percent chance of happening, so it doesn't really get you that much value. I would rather have the additional damage opportunity from Giant Slayer or Toxic, or the ability to just dodge an attack with extra evasion from Foresight. So that is why Headstrong gets placed here in the B tier. Leadership I would say it got bumped down, but I never made a tier list before. So Leadership, I put it in B tier on an archer because frankly, some situations you're going to have other damage dealers on your team and that leadership will get value. But if you're building a composition that is knight, archer, priest, right? Your archer's doing all of your damage. And what's that leadership really getting you? It's buffing your knight's attacks or buffing that one holy wrath that you're doing in between heals. Like that's not that great. So B tier. Clutch, I put as B tier as well, just because it is situational. It only applies when you are below 25% HP. I would rather not let the game get to that point where my archer's below 25% HP. And even if it does, I would rather, I think, heal my archer up so that it is not in one-shot range. Remember, archers have, generally speaking, 1,000-ish health, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. So what's 25%? About 250. About 250. Do I really want to let my archer be hanging out there less than 250? Most of the time, no, not really. That's one shot. My seers could one shot that with a warstone. You know what I'm saying? So that for me, I don't really want to be in a situation where clutch is active. I want to heal up my archer. But that said, there are still situations where it will be good. Tight games, really close games, and you say, you're deciding, do I pop a heal on my archer right now, or do I use this extra damage to maybe secure a kill? So clutch isn't useless. But it's also something that I don't want to be relying on as much. I would prefer to have the things in the rows above it. Now, to the C tier. Fearless. What does Fearless do? Increases resistance to fear. I mean, it's really generous of me to put this in C tier, frankly, because there's such little fear in the game. I don't think there is any. But when I get to my D tier, useless and useful in no situations, you'll understand why I did it. But Fearless, at least once we do have heroes that have fear, it will be somewhat useful, might need to be re-ranked depending on how strong that fear is, how well it applies. But for now, I'm putting it down in C tier. It's useful in some situations, some of the time, maybe some comps, but you would prefer to have S, A, or B tier traits. Stalwart increases resistance to poison. Now, this one was an interesting one. Stalwart required some thinking on my end. I'm not even going to lie. Because on the one hand, resisting poison, good. But on the other hand, what abilities exist in the game right now that do poison? Or not even right now, but will exist at PvP, right? We have the Berserker Spore-Coated Blade, and we have Poisoned Blade. Those are the two abilities. What's the one thing those two things share? Their melee range. How often is your archer going to be up front in melee range at that one position? Not that often, right? Or maybe they've killed one of your guys. Then maybe it's useful. So it's a bit more highly situational. I kind of have to come up with a convoluted situation for when a resistance to poison would actually benefit my archer. Toxic, be easy raises a good point with Toxic. Yes, that is kind of the caveat there to Stalwart, but that's so if they have an archer or another ranged attacker with Toxic and that person successfully lands one of the 2% chances of the Toxic applying to my archer when it happens to attack my archer. To me, that's pretty highly situational. And so I've put it in C tier. And remember, all of this is subject to change upon patches, new releases. Like pretty much it's going to need to be completely reworked. So that's why I put at the top the title, as of the launch of PvP in the description. Sorry, not the title. As of the launch of PvP. So that was why I put Stalwart there. Last Stand. People are like, wow, you just really shit on this elite ability. Why is that? I thought elite abilities were supposed to slap. Well, here's why. Here's why. It's because when a hero's health drops below 30% from a source of damage, that damage is reduced such that no less than 10% of the hero's HP remains, and then it gains unstoppable defense, 300% physical defense, 300% magical defense for 15 ticks. Whew, whew. Sounds pretty great. But what's that mean? So let's go back to my general archer. Got about 1,000 health, more or less, give or take. So if we just use 1,000 as a rough estimate, we're looking at if something takes me from drops below 300 health, I'm going no lower than 100 health, and I get a bunch of defense. But like even if you're reducing the damage of a rapid onslaught by a 2/3, so only 1/3 goes through, I can still get that 100 damage in. I could still kill you with it, I think, pretty effectively. So I'm not actually too worried about it. I think Last Stand is highly situational for an archer, and frankly, I struggle more than even Stalwart to come up with a situation where I would want Last Stand on an archer. I would rather that be on a tank, like a knight. Now to D tier. Useless, in my opinion. Remember, this is all just my opinion, by the way. So D tier, useless. Duelist, I think Duelist straight up is D tier for every hero. It is so highly situational. When fighting 1 versus 1, increased damage dealt by 20%. So even if you lose a fight, you're not guaranteed to ever have this activate. And in fact, if you're losing, it's probably not going to, because you're probably losing 2-1, 3-1 on hero count. How often is Duelist going to do shit? Never. It's never. Duelist is like a crapshoot for a really close game where you end up with this hero left and it's like, ooh, I get a little bit. I get that 20% extra damage. It feels so good. But like to get into the situation where you could get that 20% damage is very convoluted. You have to be 1 versus 1. It's not even just like the last person on your team would make it more useful. But 1 versus 1. So you have to get really close to winning. It's really only going to matter in close matches. So people are probably going to like come out and attack me, say it was really, really good. It's because look, it won me this one game that one time. And I'm like, yeah, it won you that one game, that one time, as opposed to helping you in all of the other games that you play and like being something that you could use to advance your win from the very beginning rather than just kind of praying for this situation to happen. Chatterbox, absolutely useless on an archer, will forever be D tier. Because guess what? Archers, we don't cast spells. Maybe that'll change when we get ults. Maybe that'll change when we get ultimate abilities. But for now, Chatterbox is totally useless. In fact, if I were to do inter-tier ranking, I would put Chatterbox at the very end. Second Life on an archer is, in fact, D tier. I would rather have any other ability than Second Life aside from Duelist and Chatterbox. I would put it at the top of the D tier, but like I said, I don't really care for inter-tier rankings. I just like to have the tiers. So why did I put Second Life so freaking low for an archer? Let's go back to my example. We have about 1,000 HP. What's 25% of that? I'm coming back with 250 health. All right. I can get one shot by a seer. I can get one shot by a warrior. I can get one shot by an archer. I can get one shot by a priest if built right. Is that really benefiting my archer that much? No. I think Second Life on an archer, I would rather have Giant Slayer. I would rather have Toxic. I would rather have Intimidation, something that can help me advance my victory rather than just something that gives me that 25% health back one time. And so for that reason, I have placed Second Life as D tier for the archer. Now, does this mean that Second Life doesn't slap? No, that means that Second Life doesn't slap when it's on a squishy hero. When it's on a squishy, easy to kill. Squish. You can kill it very easily because what's 25% of 1,000? 250. Not much. We have a lot of things that can do that much damage. My archers can do that much damage on a non-crit small stone, okay? Like, easy. That costs me nothing. I can still do damage to the other target and kill your Second Life, no problem. But Giant Slayer, that'll help you advance a win. That's helping you knock down a frontline or a high vit priest, right? That's what Giant Slayer, much better. So good. Elite. Boom. Slaps the hardest. I would pick, if I had to pick one as the best trait for an archer, it would be Giant Slayer. All right. Now that we have an idea for the methodology, let's go ahead and check out DeFi Kingdoms passive trait tier lists. I want to go to the active trait tier lists now, which I think I might have to go to my bookmarks. Shout out to Mega. I bookmarked your tweet, so I don't have to ask you to send it to me. Here it is. Here it is. All right. So now we'll do it fucking live for the actives. We'll do it fucking live. And here's where Mega is the band. Cut these out. Put them in here. Really, really convenient. Really, really nice. All right. So let's just run through from the top. All right, I'm looking at another screen. I have this thing open in another screen, and I'm looking at it. And I will just drop this in the chat so you can have it if you want to follow along. I hope that opens. It's kind of a janky-ass link. Yeah, Be Easy says, well, someone has an 1100 HP archer rounded up. That gets you to 275. So... Oh, people have 1200 HP archers. Actually, I went and looked at the alphas page for it. That 1094 is actually like 5th highest. We have some 1200 HP archers, so you're getting maximum 300 health. Really. Really. All right, to the actives. Starting with Poison Blade on an archer. So this one's kind of going to depend on whether it's ranged or not, because I don't actually know whether the Poison Blade will be ranged on an archer. If it's range 1, it's a bit more situational, because you kind of really only want to use it on that tank. That said, the tank's pretty much the only one you want to use it on anyway for that stacking debuff on health. So I think I'm going to put Blinding Wind, Poison Blade. It's good in some situations, in some compositions, but there are better options for building your composition, I do believe. So I'm going to put Poison Blade in B tier for now. We might move it around. But for me, that's about middle. And by the way, B tier is not bad. I don't mean bad when I say B tier. I just mean like more situational than the ones above it. And when S should be not situational at all, doesn't matter, any situation good. And D is like never good, regardless of the situation. All right, and I maybe I'm stretching a bit putting Second Life at D tier for an archer, because there are situations where it's good. I just think they're so few and far between that it doesn't really worth raising it to C tier. All right, that's Poison Blade, because what you doing? You're just doing some extra damage. Would I rather cast Poison Blade than an archer ability? Probably not. I'd probably rather just do the archer ability, because what, 1.0 power? If I have my highest basic attack archer hits for about 110 for a basic attack. It's not much damage. I pretty much am going to use that if I'm running out of mana at the end of a game. Plausible. Now, don't get me wrong. So that's a common situation that I think will happen frequently. But it's not like it gives you a crowd control. It doesn't let you do any setup. It's just kind of an annoyance to the other team. So I'm putting it at B tier. Next, Blinding Winds. I do think Blinding Winds, gonna have to say, I think it's a bit better than Poison Blade because it can interrupt combos. And you do like that on an archer. You want your range damage dealers to be kind of utile in that respect, where they can interrupt a combo. But I am open to bringing it down. Heal. Heal target party member for 30% of target's max HP. Situationally good. If you don't have any healers on your team, this would be good. If you do have a healer on your team, I struggle to see why you'd want to use this. Thank you, 2 noobs, for the 1,000 DFK gold. You rock. I do think that this is more situational than I would like for S tier. The question is whether it is worth A tier or B tier. I don't think heal is good in so few situations that it belongs in C tier. I'm going to put it in A tier right now because I do think it's better for an archer than Poison Blade. Having that off spec means, You know, if I'm a DPS and I can heal someone for 35% or 30% of their health, not even mine. So that's really useful, right? I can recover from the fact that my priest was stunned and heal my tank for a lot of health without costing me any mana, just cost 1 turn. High value, useful in a lot of situations. You can see a situation very frequently where your healer is getting crowd controlled. If you run a full damage comp, heal very good because this gives you something that you don't have access to. So I'm going to put it in A tier. Cleanse, I'm going to put in B tier. If it had a heal, I would put it in A tier. If it had like a 10% heal. But I'm going to go ahead and put it in B tier for now because frankly, I think most of the times that I'd want to use a cleanse, I could use a potion to clear whatever the cleanse is clearing, right? Blinds. What else gets cleared by potions? Poison, right? So I think cleanse is good. It's about as good as Poison Blade on an archer. It is off spec, so it is a counter argument to what I'm saying. I just saw Ogre's question, what's queen? And I got so distracted by that. But now I see the context that stats are still king. Yes. Okay, good. Good. Yes. What is queen? I think queen is, if stats are king, then equipment is queen. And you can tell because it has a Q in it, just like queen does. All right. All right. Iron Skin. Reduce physical damage taken by 10% for 80 ticks. So let's put this in some context. 80 ticks is about 8 turns. You're basically doing it the whole game. 8 rounds, I should say. Ooh, 1 Moksha from Be Easy. Thanks, man. That's highly useful to me. Because I level up everything. Thank you. So I think, not the best, but actually, I'd probably put Iron Skin, you know, this one's a tough one because I'd have to kind of play with it. I'm going to put it in C tier right now, though, because I can't think of how frequently I'd want to waste an archer's turn on it, especially because this is something you need to kind of use at the beginning of the game, right? Because it has that 80 ticks. You use it at the beginning of the game. You get that benefit for basically the whole game unless it goes really long. And so I'm going to go ahead and put it at C tier because there's very few situations where I would rather use Iron Skin than an archer ability at the opening. Now, if I'm a tank, if I'm a warrior, or if I'm a knight, this could be very different. That 10% off, in addition to the other stacking benefits that you get from your defense, could be highly useful, right? I'd probably put it in A tier for a knight, but we'll get to that soon. Speed. Highly valuable. I would use speed. I think speed is S tier for an archer. I would use that instead of an archer ability because what am I getting? I'm getting half a turn back and I'm getting 20% haste for 40 ticks, about 4 rounds of turns, which is a lot. That is a lot of haste. Like for context, let's just go ahead and take a peek-see at what the Seer passive haste ability does. 5%. And that, when I equipped that, I felt such a big difference. So 4 times that for 4 ticks, I think that is going to be, I think speed is a good in any situation with any archer build. You could use it and then start channeling. You could use it and then quickly barrage, small stone, barrage again, right? That 3-turn combo that does so much damage. You could use it and then do your rapid shot, repeating shot combo really quickly before they have a time to prep for reacting. So speed, highly useful, good with every archer build, and good, I think, with any composition that has an archer in it. Critical aim. Critical aim. Deal 1 power damage to target enemy. This attack has 35% critical strike, and you gain 35% critical strike for 2 turns. All right? This one, I also believe, is good with any archer in any composition. What is your archer's goal? What is their purpose? What is my purpose? It's to do damage. What does this let me do? This lets me do damage more. It doesn't matter if I'm built for luck. It doesn't matter if I'm built the luck build. You think crits don't help you when you're doing a repeating shot or when you're doing a channeled ability? No, they'd be awesome. I guess it is a bit more situational for the channeled spells because it's only 2 turns. It would be kind of a waste to use it with the channeled spells. But despite the fact that it's not as good with the channeled build, I am going to go ahead and put it in S tier as well. Deathmark. Deal 1.2 power damage to target enemy. 85% chance. Oh, another thing I like about critical aim is it's a 100% chance to give you the buff. It just gives you the buff, right? So if I go critical aim, barrage, small stone, you're fucked. Simple. S tier. Deathmark. 1.2 power damage to the target enemy. 85% chance to inflict the target with. Receive 15% increased damage for 40 ticks. So 4 rounds of turns. Pretty good. 15%. That's a whole extra leadership applied to that hero. It is only one hero on the enemy team, whereas critical aim is just the archer. You can target anyone. But Deathmark is extremely good with any kind of composition where you are focused firing someone down. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this, I kind of want to put it in A tier, but I'm going to put it in S. I think it's good with any archer build on any comp. It is a little bit less valuable if your archer is your only damage dealer. It's like you'd rather have critical aim, I think, in that situation. But that said, you know, you could, that extra little bit of 15% damage could be just what your priest and knight need to help you secure a kill on a focused target. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's good with any comp. And obviously, if you have a multiple damage composition like double warrior archer, double archer warrior, triple archer, archer seer seer, any kind of full damage comp like that, Deathmark is going to be good. I think I'm going to move down Iron Skin, Poison Blade, and Cleanse, and Blinding Winds, and Heal. Just because I think they are going to be more situational than some of the stuff I'm about to get into. Exhaust. All right. People don't like exhaust because of the 50% effect. And I have to say, on an archer, that's a really good critique. It's a really strong critique. Do I really want to waste one of my archer's early turns or setup turns when my archer is supposed to be doing damage with a 50% chance to exhaust? Not really. Not really. So I'm going to put it in B tier. Useful in some situations, right? If I have multiple archers, that cost isn't so great. I can take that 50% chance roll. If I only have one on my team, that cost is really big. It's a really big cost to be using that turn. So it's a bit more situational than the others, putting it at B. Daze, high value. I'm putting Daze at A tier. Daze has an 80% chance to damage the enemy, or to daze the target enemy. And what's Daze good for? You can punish someone who has exhausted themselves with like a priest full heal or with an archer repeating shot. You can go ahead, say they miss some in that repeating shot. They only get half the damage they were expecting. You hit them with a Daze, 80% chance that they're just sent to the cornfields, never coming back, and you're going to win that game pretty handily. Do you need to interrupt a big channel from an enemy? Right? Say a warrior's doing a final blow cast. Yeah, sure, it's a 50% chance to hit, but if it hits, it's going to kill your guy. Do you really want to take that 50% chance, or would you rather cast Daze and interrupt it? I think you'd rather interrupt it most of the time. And it's a bit more reliable than the Daze that the archer has because it doesn't rely on a crit, and it's not spray and pray. It's something that you can target directly where you want it to go. It's a huge improvement over the archer's base kit to have that ability. So I'm putting Daze in A tier. All right. Explosion. Channel 800 initiative. Ugh. Yuck. Gross. Archers already do have a channeled build though, so they are kind of compatible with it. That said, do I really want to take the time, if I'm using that build or any other archer build, to use explosion? No. And 1.5 times power. Let's go back. This is my frame of reference. My heroes are my frame of reference. Your heroes are yours. You have a different frame of reference than I do. So this may be different for you. But for me, 1.5 times power is 1.5 times basic attack for an archer. And my best archer, absolute best as far as dex goes and basic attack, gets about 100, a little bit more, like around 109, 110. So I'm looking at 165 damage on the main target and about 80, 85 on the two other targets. And so that's like what? 320-ish, 330-ish total damage. I could get that using a rapid shot. I could get that using a repeating shot. I could get that using a freaking piercing shot crit. So explosion is highly situational for archers in my opinion, but it's not totally useless. So I'm going to put it at C tier. Hardened shield. Reduce damage taken by 30% for 40 ticks. All right. So this one, I'm going to give you guys a curveball. I put Iron Shield really low. Iron Skin really low. I'm going to put Hardened Shield at A tier. Why am I doing that? Why is it so different? Well, the reason is, one, just the magnitude. Hardened Shield does 30% damage. Iron Skin only does 10% of physical damage. So if anything is targeting my archer, which if I am, say I'm running a Holy Trinity comp, I have one archer, keeping that motherfucker alive is very important. And if I can get 40% off of, or 30% off of all damage for about 4 rounds, I actually do think that's worth taking a turn, even if it costs me a round in setup, because I'm basically costing them, what, if they get 4 rounds and each round is their attacks on my archer are reduced by 30%, I'm getting a round and a third back, basically, assuming they target my archer with all of those, which, you know, if I'm Holy Trinity, they probably are. If I'm running triple archer, maybe it's a bit more situational, but still, I think you can get a lot of value out of using Hardened Shield. Stun is S tier. Stun is S tier. It's just fucking God tier on an archer. It's same reasons that Daze is good, except Stun is better because, in my opinion, because you can actually prevent them from taking a turn at a pivotal moment. I think Stun, S tier. Yeah, it does some damage, but the biggest thing is that it has an 80% chance to hit. Exhaust is down here. It's only got a 50% chance. Not nearly as good. Not nearly as good. Second Wind. Second Wind. Dare I? Dare I? What does Second Wind do? Restores 50% of your missing HP, and each ally is healed for 3/4 of that value. So let's just run through my clutch archer example, right? If I'm at 25% health, and I have, say, about 1,000. I got about 250 left, right? So that means 750 is my missing HP. So if I were to heal for half of that for myself, I would be looking at 375-ish HP, which would take me from 250 up to 625. Really good. And then I would be healing my homies for about 75% of 375. I don't know. I can't do fast math on that one. Sorry, guys. So it's some good amount of health. It's not great. I'm actually going to put it in B tier. The more I think about it, I actually think Second Wind is decent on an archer, but I would rather have any of the things above it. I think it's more situational than those things. And I think it does... An archer is supposed to advance your win condition of killing people. If you have other heroes on your team that heal, that's great. You don't really need Second Wind. But if you don't have them, Second Wind could be highly valuable. So it's good in some team compositions, not all of them. I'm going to go ahead and put it at B tier. I think that fits. And Resurrection is about the same, I think, as Second Wind. Because frankly, I would rather be doing damage with my archer. So now let's run through it one more time. S tier, speed, stun, critical aim, death mark. Do I still stand by these? Death mark. No, yeah, I'm going to keep it. 4 and S tier is fine. I think any of those are great on an archer in any situation. You're going to be really happy with those. Daze and Hardened Shield, you can get use out of them. Bit more situational than the other two. Really, to get max value out of Daze, you're looking to capitalize on someone else being exhausted. So a bit more situational, if you will. I do think it's still better than a Blinding Wind because it just gives you that direct control, can't be cleansed. It is better than a Second Wind, I think, because I'd rather have my archer doing an attack or a setup than a heal. It is better than a heal, better than a Resurrection, in my opinion, because Resurrection doesn't give me setup. It's a bit of, yeah. So yeah, I think I like this. I'm going to leave this. All right, so now I'm going to teach you all a lesson You press save. You title it SI's Archer Actives PvP tier list for DFK PvP launch active tier list. Boom. And we save it. And now you all can go see it, rank it, put whatever you want, comment on it, tell me it's poop, laugh at me, whatever you want. I would love feedback. Boom. Tier maker. Save that shit. Thank you, Be Easy. Thank you, 2 noobs. Keep the race going. One of you is going to get more dome points than the other. I think it's going to be Easy, but I don't know. Prove me wrong, 2 noobs. And you too, chat. All of the rest of you. All right. Now, let's go back to the passives. Create a tier list. Haha. All right, so it's filled it out. I want to just go ahead and boop. Can I just settings? Clear row images. Yeah, perfect. Settings, clear row images, settings, clear row images, settings, clear row images, and settings, clear row images. Oh, Eric Sear, this stream slaps. All right, I want to take a moment before I jump into the warrior tier list to explain that I think a lot of the discussion about whether something slaps really comes down to how you define the word slap, obviously. So, do traits slap in that having a resurrection is going to give me a significant advantage over someone who doesn't have it? Yes, abso-fucking-lutely it is. Do traits slap in that I think they are going to be perfectly balanced so that the elite traits are always better than the ones below in every situation, or the advanced or the exalted traits are better than the ones below in every single situation? Fuck no. No. Thinking that they could reflects a misunderstanding of video games, frankly. Because like, you can have the strongest abilities in a game, and a good gamers will come up with reasons, legitimate reasons, why you would rather have something else that's like lower tier or considered weaker. So I actually think that kind of just imposing this idea that the top ones need to be so much stronger in every situation, it's kind of ridiculous, frankly. All right. Warrior. This one's going to be Warrior. We'll call it Warrior. And let's start at the bottom. All right. Second Life on a Warrior. Fucking God tier. It's at least A. I'm going to put it at A to start. It might be S. The only reason it wouldn't be S is if I would rather have other things. But for now, actually, I think Second Life is S tier on a Warrior. Why? Why, intern? Why? Well, because Warriors are clocking in at like 14 to 1600 HP. And that's a lot. 25% of that is a lot more than 250, right? It's a lot. And it also is kind of a mental taunt onto the Second Life hero. Because, like, you want to take that out. You know you're going to have to do it at some point in the game. You'd rather do it when it's the least convenient for your opponent. I think that having Second Life on your front line, your hardest to kill heroes with the most physical defense, who even if they come back with 25% health, they'll block hits. They'll take hits still just fine. And they can be healed up very rapidly. I really think Second Life is God tier on a warrior or a knight. Like, it's God tier. Really fucking amazing. Good in every situation. Like, because there's, like, I want my front line taking damage. That's who I want you to be targeting. And so if you're taking the time to kill it and kill it again, fucking great. That means my damage dealer is out there, pew, 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 while you're dicking around with my warrior. All right? Yeah, mental tot. I just gave our little pink friend a little pink friend a little big happy smile by saying that. Shout out Wowee. Last Stand. When this hero drops below 30% health, blah blah blah, increase physical defense at least 10%. So Last Stand I actually think is kind of weak. I'm going to put it at B tier. So I do think there are things you would rather have than Last Stand on a warrior. I think it is a bit more situational. Sure, yeah, the extra physical defense and extra magical defense is awesome. The unstoppable is awesome. But that said, if I'm dropping below 30% health, right, and let's just take our 14 to 1600, we'll call it 15 to make math easy. 30% is a little bit less than 500 health. So when I drop a little bit below 500 health, that damage is reduced such that no less than 150 health remains, right? So you can still get a lot of damage in, even with that, like a pretty good amount. It's not necessarily going to reduce a lot of a repeating shot, but it will apply that physical defense to it. So I'm not going to put it lower than B tier. Giant Slayer. I'm going to go ahead and put Giant Slayer in C tier. Your warrior, you want your warrior to be strong, tank, high health. That's the whole idea. When is it going to be below health, the other people's health? Not very frequently, especially once you start the game and you're like into it and you've done some damage to them. Like what's Giant Slayer going to be getting you on a warrior, right? Situationally, yeah, there are some situations where I could see this working out. There are some builds where I can see Giant Slayer working out on a warrior. But generally, I don't like Giant Slayer on a warrior. I think I would rather have leadership. I would rather have efficient. I would rather have foresight. Fuck yeah. Not duelist, though. Remember what we do with duelist, guys. Duelist sucks in every situation. Chatterbox also sucks on a warrior. Let's just knock those out easily. Because no, you have one ability, I think, on a warrior that is impacted by silence. I think it's your taunt. But maybe that's the knight. I don't even know if the warriors is impacted, to be honest with you. And like, how many silences are there anyway? Chatterbox, kind of fucking useless at this point in the game. Going up to Toxic. Toxic, I'm going to go ahead and put at B tier on a warrior. You have one warrior ability that does multiple damage, so you could get some value there. It's only a 2% chance. Otherwise, you're doing a single hit every single time. I'm actually going to put Toxic at C tier. Yeah, Toxic is C tier on a warrior for me. Very few situations is it good. People are going to be like, oh, Rapid Onslaught. And I'm like, yeah, but you get what? 4 attacks in with 2 rounds of amnesia. So you're averaging, in addition to the turn where you cast it, that's like 4 attacks across 3 turns. It's really not that much above your average of 1 attack per turn. So you're really, I don't think, getting a lot of value, even if you do a lot of Rapid Onslaughts from... Oh, also Whirlwind. Dewey War. Good point. Good point on Whirlwind. I will move it up to B tier then. Because that's a good point on Whirlwind. There's a Whirlwind with Rapid Onslaught. You can get them together. Okay. I will move it up to B tier. Good call. I do like that. I like that. Intimidation. Freaking S tier. Because enemies deal less damage. That is your goal as a tank, as a warrior, even if you're a damage dealing warrior. Making them do less damage, great. You're easier to kill. And you become harder to kill. They become easier to kill because they have weak little limp noodle attacks. I love intimidation. Efficient. Great on a warrior. I'm going to go ahead and put it on A tier. I think I would rather have Second Life or Intimidation, and you can frequently get warriors that have enough mana to kind of just plow through on their own without much help. That said, there are a lot of warriors that don't really have that much mana, that can't really do that. And so Efficient gets above B tier for me because I do think it will be valuable to warriors in a lot of situations. Yeah, I don't find Last Stand very impressive. I'm not going to lie. I was just thinking, should I have Efficient above Last Stand? Yeah. I don't think Last Stand is very impressive at all. At all. It's not going to reduce that much damage on a warrior. And it does give you that 15 ticks. You get like a round and a half. You get 1 turn, basically, of your enemies. Maybe 2 if they're fast. Of that defense. I don't think that defense is highly valuable. So I'm going to leave Last Stand where it is. Leave Efficient where it is. Leadership, great. Because we're going to have warriors with archers or with other warriors. So leadership, I think, is also pretty much A tier. Good in most situations, most of the time. Hard for me to imagine a situation where I wouldn't like to have leadership. Stalwart increases resistance to poison. Now, we talked about the archer. Not a lot of poison threats on the archer. There are a lot of poison threats on the warrior. You got a lot of heroes have poison blade. It's a basic ability. You got berserkers in the game, which can attack your front line with their spore-coated blade. 2 noobs, second life looks sexy now. Hell yeah, he gets it. We got toxic as well. Gonna be landing on your warrior, but really I'm more thinking in terms of the other two, the targeted attacks for it. I think stalwart will be useful generally in a lot of situations for a warrior, just because poison blade is a basic ability. Chatterbox we covered, useless. Fearless, pretty low. Honestly, not too many things cause fear, but I'll go ahead and put it at C tier just to put it above duelist because I hate duelist. I mean, duelist arguably is better on a warrior than an archer. So, I ain't even going to go there, though. I hate it. It is so situational that, like, I'm not going to ever build a comp where I want to build around duelist. Ever. Ever. Prove me wrong. I'm open to that, but not feeling it right now. Clear vision. Increase resistance to blind. Good, but not as good as the other things. Do I really care that much if my warrior is blinded? Yes, I do. I care a lot. But warriors also have a very convenient spot in their rotations where using a anti-blinding potion on yourself actually is a pretty big boon because you get that 500 initiative back. So good in some situations, but not stellar in any situation, I think, to have that blind removable. Especially given that we have potions. Sure, you're foregoing the use of other potions. That is a cost, and that's why it's not like C tier. I do think it is useful to have the clear vision. Headstrong, increased resistance to daze. I'm going to go ahead and put that at A tier, because really, your warrior's up there doing your setup. He's the one taunting the priest on the other team so that you can secure a kill in the 2 turns while it's taunted. So I think the ability to, not have yourself pushed back is really huge. And you do have the self-slow with Whirlwind, which is something that they could capitalize on with a daze. Hit you with that daze while you're slowed and you're sent to the cornfields. You're gone. You just went to Valhalla. You are dead. All right. So I do think having that extra daze resistance, it warrants an A tier. Clutch, no. D tier. I don't want my frontliner to ever be hanging out that low health. If he is, I'm in trouble. That is not a situation I'm trying to be in, and that's not a situation where I'm maximizing my victory chances. So building around clutch is not great, in my opinion. Foresight is S tier, because you're going to be in the front, you're going to be taking hits, even if they have an archer spray and pray build. And given that you've already got great block, you've got great defense, adding in a critical dodge, just even an extra here and there, really freaking good. S tier. Better than efficient. Better than last stand. Better than giant slayer. Not better than second life though. So there's that one for you, Beef. Save. SI. Warrior. PvP passives. Tier list. I guess I don't need to put tier list. This is like tier list maker website for launch of PvP. Save. Now you put this in the chat, y'all can go shit on it all you want. All right. Kupo is the most kind. I do agree with Beeve when he says that. I think Knights and Dread should be the same, said Beeve earlier. Let's go ahead and pin that message. I can't pin your message. What the shit? What the shit? Do I need to unpin my other message? Yeah, there we go. Because I think Knights and Dreads should be the same. No, I'm not saying that, but I don't think Dreads should be better than Knights in every single situation imaginable, Beef. That's the better analogy to what I was saying earlier about traits. So traits do slap. They're going to redefine the game. You're going to get so screwed out of nowhere when they pop an Iron Skin, the least useful trait at the most inconvenient time for you. Traits slap. It's just a matter of they slap with skill. Skill is what slaps. Traits are the tools that you use for slapping. All right? How about that? How about that to keep the slap analogy going? That was passives. Now let's go to active traits tier lists. Create new. Clear the rows. Now we're doing warrior actives. Clear row. Oh my god. Clear row. Clear row. Clear row. And clear row. All right. Excuse me. Beav is right. I did quit smoking weed recently. And I probably shouldn't have. I'm way more uptight. And fast talking. But c'est la vie. Can I get some music on for you guys though? Maybe a little bit. That works. All right. Actives. Warrior. Let's just start with Poison Blade. I think Poison Blade is pretty good on a warrior. It can fit really nicely into a rotation in between Rapid Onslaught and like during that cooldown before you use a Gladiator Strike. So I do think it's a low opportunity cost active ability. I think I'm going to put it A tier to start out with on a warrior. And you have the range. It doesn't matter what range it is. Hitting the front line. Oh, what the fuck? Okay, there we go. Hitting the front line with it is fine. Blinding Winds, I'm going to put actually at A tier as well for the warrior for the same reason. You can fit it very easily into the rotation, and it supplies a really good interrupt to the enemy's setup, which is even better on a tank or melee damage dealer than it is on an archer. Love me a tier list, says Ophisto. And by the way, in turn, I love you and appreciate all you do, says Beef. I know, I love you too, man. I appreciate all you do too. You gotta keep your pimp slap hand strong, my friend. And trust me, Dread Knights with double resurrection and double second life, there's not a goddamn thing they can do in the world to make those bad. Like, aside from not building the game. So, I'm just going to put it that way. You know why? Because stats are king and Dread Knights have the best stat growth. It's that easy, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Back on topic. Heal. Heal target party member. So that means you can heal anyone on your team, even yourself. Really, really like having heal. I actually think heal is A tier on a warrior because of the fact that you do have a natural spot in your rotation where you normally would just do a basic attack to set up Gladiator Strike. And there's a lot of situations I could think of where just popping a heal on one of your other heroes would be the better call. So I do like that as well. Cleanse. I'm going to put Cleanse in C tier. Just because I think Cleanse is kind of weak. And I think I would rather have just about anything else over Cleanse. Iron Skin goes into B tier. 10% damage reduction for 80 ticks. And then combine that with what? What else do Warriors got? What else do Warriors got to reduce damage? Let's just like think about this for a second. Warriors got this whole tank build. So I could get 30% P-Def from Rough. I could get 40% P-Def as a just a passive ability. So you're stacking all these additive physical defenses. It starts to get a bit outrageous. If you got 30% plus 30%, plus another 10%, you have a 70% just default extra physical defense for 2 turns because of your tank build. That's wild. Especially when your physical defense is already so high to begin with at 108. So if I'm looking at 10% of 108 there in the middle of the screen, you can't see it. It's 108.5 is what it says. That's an extra 10. That bumps me up from 108 to 1. Actually, it gives me 10.8, which matters because I have the 0.5. So I would get up to 119, basically, 0.3. Emerson rules, I'm at 120 physical defense just from popping Iron Skin and basically for the entire game. So I'm going to go ahead and put Iron Skin Actually, I'm going to swap heal and iron skin. Yeah, I like that better because I think heal is more situational. It's less useful if I have a healer in my composition already. Whereas iron skin really jives with what my warrior is trying to do. So it's more of a useful turn and on brand. Yes, off spec is also a value, but I think here the iron skin being on brand bumps it above the heal. Speed. You gain haste on your warrior. That's not bad on anyone, but like, how often am I using my warrior for setup? And if I'm using speed on my warrior, I'm burning through my very limited mana pool very fast. I do think it's good. I don't think it's great on a warrior. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on B tier. But just for those people who do like inter-tier rankings, I'm not one of them. Reminder, I will put speed at the front though, because I know a lot of people in the community have been thinking like that already. So I don't want to confuse people and make them think, oh, heal's better than speed. Whoa. Anyway, critical aim. Gain 35% critical strike for 2 turns. So like critical aim could be crazy in some situations. You pop it and then you immediately pop final blow, hit them with a crit, one shot them, they're dead. They're just dead, you know? But at the same time, that's pretty low. And how often are you really getting 2 turns back to back with your warrior, right? And you could do, instead of your basic attack at the beginning of your combo, you could do the critical aim, and then you could do gladiator strike, rapid onslaught, which would be really good. But I don't think it's as good as the utility from a poison blade forcing a reaction, or blinding winds forcing a reaction. So I'm going to go ahead and put critical aim at B tier on a warrior. Good in some situations, some builds, some comps. Deathmark. Love Deathmark on a warrior. I'm going to go ahead and put Deathmark at S tier because you have an 85% chance, really good, higher than most of the actives for it to inflict. You're doing 1.2 power, and your warrior's basic attacks, or at least my warrior's basic attacks, are pretty strong. So that's a pretty good amount of damage. And they receive that amount of damage for 40 ticks. That's about 4 rounds of turns. So you can do Deathmark and then a full freaking warrior combo, basic attack, gladiator strike, rapid onslaught. And meanwhile, you're also providing that support, that damage focused fire support to your archer on your team, your berserker on your team, who is focusing down that enemy with you. Now, I would probably move it down from S tier if it is not, or if it is only range 1. So I will caveat that. If Deathmark turns out to only be range 1, I'm probably moving it down to A tier. All right? All right. Good. Wowie says I'm making him want to do this too. Hell yeah, brother, you should. This is like the content of the month right here. We should all be doing this. Coming up with it. And most importantly, saving it, Bogside Chats talking to you. I can see that you didn't save it. This website's good. Like, I use it in other video games. You should use it. Shout out to Mega for being an OG gamer and putting this together so I didn't have to, because you're a G. Anyway, where was I? Deathmark. Exhaust. Love Exhaust. I love Exhaust. I hate that 50% chance though. Oh, Exhaust gets D tier for me on a warrior because you can do so many impactful things with a warrior's kit already that the 50% chance at an Exhaust isn't that great. Now, someone will say, but intern, don't you love using Final Blow? And isn't that like only a 50% chance to hit? What's the difference? Well, the difference is that Final Blow is a 300 turn or 300 initiative channel. So I'm getting through 2 turns in 300 initiative from start to finish. I have turn 1, turn 2, 300 initiative in between, done, right? And then my next turn, 1,000 initiative later, or what have you, depending on the speed formula, I can use that aspect of Final Blow to kill my amnesia for Rapid Onslaught. So I go over here, turn 1, Rapid Onslaught. Turn 2, Final Blow. Turn 2.3, actually attempt the Final Blow. And then at turn 3.3, instead of like turn 4, I'm doing Rapid Onslaught again. So my damage per tick is really fucking fast because of that. But Exhaust, you don't get that. You don't get that. And it's still just a 50% chance. That said, could be useful. I think the 50% chance really neuters exhaust, just cuts out all of its reproductive organs, I whatever they may be. And I think it needs to be like 70, honestly. If it were 70, I'd probably move it up to A tier. Days, solid as F. I'm going to put Days at S tier for a warrior, because you know what? The number of freaking times that I've thought to myself, I wish my warrior had a point and click Days, has been astronomically high. And an 80% chance to hit is really, really solid. Does damage anyway, 1.2 power, right? Remember, our warriors do a pretty good amount of damage with their basic attacks. Like, I'm doing 130. I do like close to 200 on my basic attacks on some of my best warriors. So, like 1.2, I'm looking at 220, 240. I'm loving that. All right. And so even just the damage is good, but also the fact that it fits. It's on brand with the kit. I'm using my warrior for setup, which is how I want to be using it. It synergizes well with the kit. Love it. Good stuff. Great. Give it to me. Send it. Explosion. I'm going to put Explosion actually at A tier on a warrior. Why would I do that? It's got that annoying channel. But my warrior does a lot of basic. So that 1.5 times power to the initial target, pretty cool. The only problem with it, actually, let's put it at B tier. I like it better at B tier because it is still somewhat situational, right? Very rarely am I going to want to take that channel. Very rarely. But still, when I do, I think it's going to be very impactful. Would I rather have Poison Blade or Blinding Winds or Daze for that setup, that crowd control? Yes, I absolutely would. But is Explosion bad? No. No, it's not. It's solid. I would love to use it on a warrior. I would love to go triple warrior, triple explosion, start channeling all of them at once and just let you guess which one of your heroes I'm targeting. That would be super fun. Hardened Shield is S tier for a warrior. No, that's just no brainer. Easy choice. 30% damage off the top for 4 rounds. Like, sign me up. I can't see any situation where that's bad or not desirable for a warrior. Stun, S tier for a warrior. Easy choice. Easy choice. Second, actually, you know what? I'm going to move Cleanse and Exhaust down to D tier. I'm going to move... Yeah, yeah, there we go. There we go. I'll move Iron Skin down. I'm rearranging these because, you know, Second Wind and Resurrection, I think, are both freaking godlike on a warrior, to be honest with you. Second Wind, S tier for sure. Restore 50% of your missing HP and each ally is healed for 75% of that value. So let's just say my warrior is a 1500 total health warrior and he's at 500, right? I restore 50% of my missing HP. Boom. 500 HP back to everyone else. And then, to me, and then 375 HP to both of my homies. Like, that's most of my archer's health bar. Second Wind is God tier. Second Wind is God tier on a warrior. As is, actually, believe it or not, Resurrection. Because you know what? They're not going to want to attack your tank first. They're not going to want to attack your tank first. Let me say it one more time. They're not going to want to attack your tank first. They are going to want to kill your easiest hero to kill, which is not going to be the one that has a juiced up defense rating or high ability to block or any of that shit. Which means, on your warrior, you're probably going to have a chance to cast Resurrection on one of your other heroes. And guess what? There are opportunities to cast that Resurrection where it fits really well into your rotation of abilities. So, frankly, 6 traits are S tier, good in any situation, in my opinion, with any team composition, against any team composition for a warrior. If that isn't slap, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. S is for slap. Trait slap on warriors, baby. All right. SI's warrior. Oh, that's freaking capitalized wrong. Warrior actives tier list for PvP launch. I'm just putting for PvP launch to kind of timestamp them so that people don't come back a year from now and be like, but SI, you say these are good. And it's like, well, the game's totally different now. Yeah. So that's the slap tier 1 SI's warrior actives. Now let's run through I mean, Knight's going to be pretty similar to Warrior. I'm not going to lie to you. Let me just think about it here for a second. Would I change any of these for a Knight? No, I would not change. I'd actually, yes, I would. I would move Explosion down a tier for a Knight. So let's do that. Knights, boom. All of these, amazing for the same reasons that they're amazing on a Warrior. I guess. Yeah, no. All those, amazing. Good. This one, though, I'm probably moving it down like all the way to D tier on a Knight. Just because your basic isn't as good, in my opinion, in my experience, on Knights as it is on Warriors. Now, you can maybe get Knights with good basic, but like, then you're channeling. You don't really want to be using 2 of your Knights' turns. Your Knight's there for control. Yeah, so I am going to save this as the Knight tier list. So SIs. Oh, that's not it. That was not right. What the shit, backspace button? There we go. Actives, but it's Knight. And it's full, oh, yeah, for PvP launch. Save. All right. So now let's go back to our active traits tier lists. We got, look, we got my Knights, we got my Archer, we got my Warrior. Now let's go ahead and do one for the healers on the actives. Oh, wait, I should do the passives really quick. Would I change any of these for a Knight on the passives? Giant Slayer probably goes to D tier. Because, like, what? I want to miss harder with my Knight? No. Useless. Toxic goes down to C tier. Pretty, like, actually, Toxic probably also goes down to D tier. What do I want? I want a 2% chance to apply poison on the 40% chance I have to hit to begin with? No. 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 I don't want that. Last Stand, really good. No, but still same reasons as the Warrior. I don't think there's a reason to change it. Because what? Drops below 30% health. It suffers from the same problems. It's not going to mitigate that much damage. I don't think. I'm happy to be wrong on Last Stand. Just from reading it, though, I don't think it's going to be that great. Stalwart, yeah, same. Headstrong, yeah, same. Leadership. Leadership's probably S tier on a Knight because you need your homies doing other... You need your homies doing more damage because your Knight's not doing shit. Second Life is great on a Knight for the same reasons. Foresight's great on a Knight for the same reasons. Intimidation's great on a Knight for the same reasons. Efficient is probably B tier on a Knight. I think I would rather have just about anything of any of the other ones because you're not really doing as much with your Knight's ability. Actually, no, I'm going to keep it in A tier because you do run out of mana and the Knight abilities are impactful. So you do want to use them consistently. Resisting Blind might be... Yeah, no, I'm just going to leave it like this. I think moving Toxic and Giant Slayer down to D tier for a Knight is good. SI's Knight passives. PvP tier list. Add description for PvP launch. Save that shit. Alright. Alright. Shout out once again to Mega for making this super easy. Alright. Create this tier list. Clear row. Clear row. There's got to be like a clear all rows that I'm just not familiar with. No, there isn't. There probably still is. I just, by cursory glance, did not locate it. Alright, so now we're going to do priests. Alright, let's do priests passives. Alright, let's do them in the order they appear on the screen here. Foresight, I'm probably going to put that in A tier. Because having your healer dodging more attacks, really good. Healer's likely to be a focus target. So yeah, you want to dodge more. Second Life. Second Life is probably S tier on a priest. Because, yes, you're coming back with weak health. Yes, you're easy to one-shot. But there is no more important hero on your team if you're running a priest to have come back to life when you get like an unexpected crit that kills you than your priest. Because that's the one that heals everyone else. You can't do shit with it. That said, you're going to have to use potions to get it back up to prevent them from killing it again. Still S tier. I can't think of a single situation where it's bad to have Second Life. I can't think of a single situation where I would rather have anything else over Second Life on a priest. Yeah, Last Stand, no. Giant Slayer, definitely not. Giant Slayer, I'm going to go ahead and put at C tier on a priest because Damage Priest might be something one day. No, we'll put it D tier. Actually, yeah, because yes, they do some damage, but I'll put it at C tier. There is a lot of people who play Damage Priest. And so there are situations. It's good in some situations with some team compositions, yes. So that fits C tier, not D. Leadership, great. S. Leadership is S tier on a priest. You want your homies, the tank and the DPS, or the 2 DPSs, or if you're just going double healer DPS, you really want that 1 DPS doing more damage. Leadership is S tier. Intimidation, I'm gonna put Intimidation actually at A tier because I would rather have my friends doing more damage if I have because this is for a priest. So by hypothesis, we have at least one priest on my team, right? So if they're doing damage to me, I at least do have a source of healing. So reducing their damage is still very useful. But increasing my homie's damage, because I know at least one of my guys is a healer, is more important. Because I have the healer, I can deal with their damage. I need the extra damage. So that's why leadership is S, intimidation is A. Stalwart, which one is that again? Poison resistance. I'm going to put it at B for the same reasons I put it at B on the archer. You're not a lot of poison can attack the back line, is the main summary of that in the current iteration. Efficient, really, really, really good S tier on a priest. You're burning through your mana. It doesn't matter how big that pool is. And the more spells you cast, the more value efficient gets, and you have a huge mana pool to begin with. S tier. Good in every situation, every composition against any team. Headstrong is Daze. I'm going to put it A tier because it's not good against every team. There are teams that don't have Daze potential. So is it going to get you value against those teams? No. Really technical, nitpicky reason, but that's why I'm not putting it S tier. Putting it at A. Clear Vision. Increases resistance to blind. I'm going to put that at B tier. Yes, I don't want my healers blinded because there is that damage or that healing potency reduction that results from the fact that you're blinded or that you don't have enough accuracy. But if your priest is accurate enough to where your weapon skill is still good, that's actually not always a huge threat, and you can still perform your primary function of healing at a 100% clip, whereas a blind on a damage dealer, it zeroes out your damage if you miss. It doesn't zero out your health. So I'm going to put Clear Vision at B. Last Stand. When this hero's health... Yeah, Last Stand I'm just not impressed by. So I'm going to put it at D. Fearless. Increases the resistance to fear. I'm going to put it... Last Stand's at C. It's going to be good sometimes, but I'd rather have anything else pretty much. Fearless is D because there's really just not enough fear in the game to rank it higher at this point in time. Chatterbox, I'm going to put it at B. The only silence in the game is the knight. So you have to be going up against a knight, and that knight has to be able to hit your priest. So that's 2 conditions that must be true. Knight only has ranged 1, so if your priest is hidden behind a warrior, Chatterbox still isn't doing shit for you, frankly. But because it does have some theoretical value in some situations, I'm going to put it at the B. Toxic. D tier. You're only doing damaging spells 1/2 to 1/3 of your turns, and the 2% chance on those few turns is not really going to advance your win condition much. I'd rather have anything above toxic on a priest. Of course, there are caveats like, yeah, say I have a priest with explosion. Oh, and because his spell's so high, that's actually wild. Like, yeah, you can make it work, but that's pretty much exactly what D tier means. Like, there might be a situation that you can imagine where it's good, but not really. Duelist, D tier on every hero. Worst trait in the game. Absolute crap. Clutch, increased damage dealt by 20% when below 25% HP. D tier, absolute crap on a priest. I'm going to heal myself when I'm below that much health. Well, I'm not going to be doing damage. So I'm going to get effectively 0 use out of clutch on a priest. SI, priest, passives, tier list. 4 PvP launch. And now we have the actives. Really quick though, let me see. Would I change any of this for a seer? I think the resistance to daze goes up to S tier for a seer because you can get interrupted by so many things. And there is a plenty amount of daze and it does attack at range. So headstrong goes to S tier. No, but you still need daze on the other team. They need an archer. Archers are going to be in every game. Or most games. It's still A tier by my definitions, actually. I think clear vision goes up in value because you do a lot more attacking damage with seers. So there are more situations where you'll get value out of not being blinded. And your cleanse is also harder to do. It takes a channel. So not having to do that, really good. Stalwart and Chatterbox, same reasonings. Giant Slayer actually might go up in value to a B because you do some damage with some seers. And they have abysmal health. They're not like priests that have pretty decent vit growth. They have the absolute ass vit growth. So we'll go ahead and put what one was that? Giant Slayer there in B. Some situations, some of the time against some compositions. Last Stand. Yeah, Last Stand I'm actually going to drop to D tier for a seer because like what? It's going to trigger at 200 health and keep me from falling below 60 health. Like I can get basic attacked and killed even like by my warrior who does 200 basic attack. So I actually think Last Stand is D tier on a seer. Second Life remains S tier. I think. Should I move anything into C tier? Feels kind of awkward not having anything there. Now, no AoE effects, so really I feel comfortable leaving Toxic there. I guess Clutch does move up because you have such low health. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm lying to myself. Yeah, no, I'm not going to put anything in C tier. I'm going to stick with it. There are 5 absolutely useless traits on a seer, and nothing that is semi-useful sometimes, rarely. According to me. What do I know? I'm not the designer of the game. So Seer, 4 PvP launch. Hi, Kitbox. Welcome to the chat. Yes, this is not Elder Scrolls. Yeah. Beef, you have to understand that when I say that, like, I would love to use your Mythic Archer with Second Life. Don't get me wrong. Guy. Like, I think all of these abilities are good. I'm ranking them because that's what we're doing this week on streams. Okay? Okay? Okay. Alright, so that's Seer passives. Now I gotta do Priest actives. Go to template. There we go. Clear this shit. I wish I just automatically closed that after I press clear row images. That UX would be much better. User experience, not interface. There's a difference. All right. All right. So priest, actives, resurrection, god tier, slap. Good in any situation, any team. Fills your primary goal of keeping your team alive. Synergizes well with your abilities. Yeah, maybe I'd rather have it not on my healer so that my healer can then use the turn to heal, but I can also just use a potion. So I don't think that really negates its utility in every situation. So I'm going to put Resurrection at S tier. Second, Wind. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. There we go. Restore 50% of missing HP. Each ally is healed. Yeah, it's basically a second group heal. It's really only not good if your priest has hit poor vit rolls. So I'm going to put it at A tier. Stun. I'd rather have a lot of things than stun, but it's still really good. I'm going to put it at A for a priest. It does give the priest some needed crowd control that it doesn't have. And versatility with that off spec. And I could imagine a lot of situations where having my priest do a stun to set up where my other 2 damage dealers then lay waste with their turns. That's really good. Yeah, A tier. Hardened Shield. Reduce damage take. Yeah, God tier on a priest. We want that. Your priest is going to get focused down. Being able to just reduce that damage, especially earlier in a game where you don't need to cast a heal because you haven't taken damage yet. High value on a priest. Explosion, I'm going to go ahead and put at D tier. Very rarely am I going to want to be doing a channel using 2 turns to do a little bit of damage, a little tickle, a little slap and tickle to the enemy team, when I would rather use those 2 turns healing or casting a stun for setup or any of that. Yeah, we're on priest actives right now, Eric. That's where I'm at. Remember, all of these are saved. On the website because I know where the save button is. Daze. Daze is good for the same reasons as stun, but less good than stun. But is it less good than stun? 85% chance to daze? 80%. Same chances. Yeah, I'm going to leave daze in B tier for a priest. I think I would rather have the stun or the heal or the self physical defense or the resurrect. I think those are more universally applicable. And the daze is kind of just, yeah, it's good, but I'd rather have better things. Exhaust, I'm going to go ahead and put it D tier. I'm not going to want to risk using my priest's turn for that 50% chance very frequently. I'll put it at C tier. Very frequently. Like, I'll use it if I have it. I'm not going to build a priest around exhaust. But I think even if I have it, it's going to be pretty rare that I use it. Cleanse, I'm going to go ahead and put at B, because you can get it anyway in your priest kit. You don't really need that extra one, but having it might be useful sometimes. Say you're running low on mana, you can cast that to keep your mana up. But really, there's a lot of options for cleanse. If cleanse was purify, I would probably put it in A tier, but it's not. It's just cleanse. Heal. Like, yeah, great, mana conserving, on spec. Your own heals are probably going to be as good or better, though, most of the time. Critical aim, D tier. Oh, actually, I don't know. Critical strike chance might be great for a healer. I'm going to put it at B tier until further testing, because what if I can cast it and then just get a guaranteed crit heal? Or near guaranteed with that plus 35% CSC. I'm going to need to play test it. I'll tentatively put it at B, though, because I can see that being highly valuable on a priest. Deathmark, really good on a priest. Same reasons as before. You can have your priest going first, then your other 2 guys go to actually do the damage. So put that at B tier as well. I would rather have just about anything I've listed. Yeah, I would rather have anything I've listed in S tier or A tier than Deathmark, but that said, Deathmark doesn't seem bad. Speed. I'll put speed in A tier. I'm not sure that I'm going to want the speed on my priest, but until I have tested it and proven it wrong, I think that gain 500 initiative, really good, letting you reposition kind of on the time bar, because the time bar is kind of a second dimension of positioning in the game. Really solid. And also the speed. You're just getting more heals out faster, what your team needs in a clutch moment. I like speed. I think it's A tier. Clip that. I like speed. Iron Skin. I'm going to put it at D. It's good for the reasons Hardened Shield is good, but it does so much less. And it's really only decent against an archer. Because the other ones, I presume your priest isn't most of the time going to be in the front line. If it is, hey, you can get high value out of Iron Skin. So that's like some situations, some of the time, C tier. Poison Blade, Blinding Winds, both of those I'm going to put into B tier as well. Everything's pretty average on a priest, except for some things are stellar. Resurrection, Hardened Shield, Second Wind, Stun, Speed, stellar. A lot of average things, very few shitty things. Priest, actives, tier list. And now, the final one. Seer actives. Do I want to change any of these for the Seer? I guess Second Wind goes down a tier for Seer because you have so much less health. So I would put Second Wind down a tier. Yes, it is still a good, like, ish heal, but it's not going to do very much. This is not. Explosion, I actually think, moves up to C tier for a Seer because it does fit well with their... like, it's basically a Seer ability already. It's Warstone with an AoE. So, like, it's... What's the cost of doing it? Not too high. It does kind of fit with the kit. So I'll move it out of the useless tier. Yeah. I think the actives are all very good on Seers, frankly, because of the amount of channeled abilities in their kit. Actives just kind of give them versatility that they can use in a lot of situations. Speed, good. We like speed. Stun, good. Daze, good. Cleanse, dece. Heal, dece. Critical aim. Critical aim I'll move down a tier because, like, you're not really doing... I'll move down to D, actually, because you're not really ever doing big heals within 2 turns. Like, you'd have to cast it and then channel a heal, so you'd really get it for 1 turn. It's really kind of... It'd be very niche to get usefulness out of critical aim on a Seer compared to a priest. And other than that, I'll move Iron Skin up a tier because that extra bit of defense could be very impactful with your low health bar. Very similar to priest, though. SI, Seer, actives for PvP launch. Thank you once again to Mega from the Jewelers for setting up these tier lists, because now you can see we got all sorts of them. We got... Oh, I haven't done Berserker. Oh my god, my wife's gonna kill me. Alright, guys. Next time, we're gonna do Berserker. Alright? Beef is asking, what if exalted traits allowed the player to pick one of any of the passive traits, and same for the actives? I will entertain your shenanigans and respond to that. Here's the problem. Do you pick once and then you're locked in forever? Or do you get to pick every single battle? If you get to pick every single battle, when do you get to pick? Do you get to pick after you've seen everything that they have? Or do you get to pick... Do you have to pick before the battle starts? I don't hate the idea. I just think there are some logistics issues, frankly. I think that's clever, though, Beef. It's worth exploring that concept. If a bit late, that'd be good for like the first or second expansion once we get to level 50. Though, I think that's a good idea to consider then. By the way, level 50, about 2050. Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. Yeah, because these heroes are hard as fuck to make, right? But, like, you can't just mindlessly make them, though, at the same time, right? Like, the fact that they're hard to make really draws little sympathy from me. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But I understand where you're coming from, though, at the same time. I get that I am kind of an outlier in the fact that it doesn't draw sympathy from me. And so I will concede my point that maybe they should slap harder. I mean, I personally wanted to make a statement with putting Archer Second Life at D tier, because frankly it's useless on an archer in my opinion. It's like I'd rather not have it than have it. I'd rather have just about anything else to secure the dubs. But yeah, once again, shout out to Mega for putting these. I am going to drop these into the chat. Both of the sites where you can go to make, this is the, shit, I'm clicking the wrong button. Where you can go look at the tier lists that have been made and make your own. And if you do make your own, log in, connect your Twitter, and save that shit so that I can go tell you why it's poop or great or awesome. Remix the list. You could remix any of the lists that I've made. Yeah. Thank you, Mega, for setting this up once again. Can't say that enough. Really did something that I would have wanted to do but not done for weeks. Like, it would have been on my list of like, oh, I should do that. But I don't want to do it. Anyway, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, bloaters, beavers, Erics, skillers, Jeremys, ragweeds, kings, queens, Xans, metas, armies, navies, renpens, acoustics, kitboxes, ogres, trolls, fishermen. Everyone, have a great night. I don't know why I shouted out fishermen. I hate fishermen. I'm a bloater. What the hell was I even thinking? All right. But before I let you go, I'm going to give you some actual real alpha.
The rumbling is coming, the war song is drumming, the game is now becoming. Oh, the enemy is cunning, each player's mind is running, their precision strikes are stunning. Oh, I just wanna fight, bring your warriors or knights. My attacks, yeah, but see the light, cause my arrows fill the skies. My arrows fill the skies. My arrows fill the skies. My arrows fill the skies, and they bring your demise.
Don't you wanna battle? All my enemies I run through, bringing slaughter to the cattle. Oh, DeFi Kingdoms, yeah, I just wanna battle. All my enemies I run through, bringing slaughter to the cattle. Oh, the PvP is gonna be so fucking epic. Trades better slap.
Oh, the tricky one, everyone, I think